Okay, so I've gotten quite a few requests for this video. This is going to be my iPad 9, the all-new iPad 9 versus the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite comparison video. Let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, let's give it a proper start, doing a breakdown of the price. First, the iPad 9 here is the latest budget offering by Apple, and it will run you, as of the shooting of this video, anywhere from a discounted price of $300 to the regular price of $330. The Apple Pencil first gen here is going to cost you $100 for a grand total of between $400 and $430, depending on when you decide to purchase this tablet. Now, what I did there is include the cost of the Apple Pencil first gen, simply to try to make this a more comprehensive comparison of the iPad 9 here to the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite. So feel free to disregard that if you're not planning on picking up this guy. I simply did that because the Tab S6 Lite comes with a stylus. And speaking of the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite here, it will run you anywhere from $330, like you see here at Walmart, to $350, which is the regular price, and that will be the total price including the stylus or the S Pen, as I mentioned. Now I'm solely going to focus on high level stuff that need comparing between these two. So if you need additional details about either one of these tablets, make sure that at the end of this video you check out either the full review of the iPad 9 or the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite, whichever one interests you. That being said, let's go ahead and jump on design here. Nothing has really changed with this tablet, with the iPad 9 here. So we are all familiar with this very same look that the previous generations had, and this time around we get two finishes, space gray and also silver. Now we have a large 10.2 inches IPS Retina display here, pretty solid metallic build on the back here. It's a solid tablet, and we have of course some pretty nice physical features, starting off with my favorite here, which is of course the Touch ID. Very fast, very secure. We have the 3 pins for the official keyboard here, so it makes snapping it into that keyboard pretty easily. And we have a headphone jack. I always smile when I talk about the headphone jack. I always like to see headphone jacks on newer or new generation devices. Now let's go ahead and talk about some not so great physical features of this tablet here, starting off with the speaker placement, right? So you have two speakers. They are located at the bottom here, and the reason I'm saying bad speaker placement is because if you are watching a movie, you are definitely covering it up and you won't be able to get the sound. Or if you're just playing a game, like if you're just playing a video game, if you're playing a game on here and if you're not using a controller, then you are likely to cover either one, or worst case scenario, cover both speakers, and the sound coming out won't be that great. And the next one here is that it unfortunately still carries a lightning port. Apple just won't give up on this thing. So as you would imagine, slow transfer speed, and it is just not standardized. You have this fairly thick bezel at the top and also another thick one at the bottom here, which understandably, if you think about it, it's good for the Touch ID button, right? So it needs to be thick enough for the button to fit there, but still not a modern look, not a particularly modern look on a newer tablet. Now the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite, on the other hand, has a 10.4 inches display, so not as wide as the iPad 9. You have 3 finishes available for this tablet here: the Oxford Gray, the Angora Blue, which is what I have here, and the Chiffon Rose. We have some pretty nice physical features on here also that include that uniform bezel around the face of the tablet, giving it a much modern look, as you can see here when compared to the iPad 9. And on the back here, what we have is a nice blend of mid-range and premium look on that unibody metallic frame there that continues with the idea of a modern look to this tablet. Then of course we also have a headphone jack here, which is always nice to see. Speaker placement, just excellent here. You have one here and one on the other side, and these are tuned by AKG. Sound quality, crisp, definitely sound better than those found on the iPad. You also have an SD card, a micro SD card slot for you to be able to expand the storage at up to 1 terabyte of this tablet. Also not available on the iPad 9. At the bottom here, what we have is a USB Type-C port, which is more of a standardized port. That's what most tablets, most devices are moving towards, even though Apple just won't let go of the Lightning port. And also some not so great physical features about this tablet, starting off with just the display, right? This guy here is boasting a TFT display as opposed to the iPad 9 that has an IPS display. It also does not feature a fingerprint sensor. You have to unlock the tablet either using face unlock, which is kind of hit and miss type of thing, right? So sometimes it works, sometimes it just doesn't. So it does get annoying sometimes. Now, overall, when it comes down to just the design of, either one of these tablets, it's going to be subjective, right? You are going to like what you like, and I'm going to like what I like. Now, in my humble opinion, I think the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite here has a much more modern look and also a much more functional look, right? In terms of just the physical features available on the tablet itself. Now let's go ahead and talk about the best part here, which is of course specs and performance. As I mentioned, the iPad 9 here is loaded with an IPS Retina display. It has a higher resolution at 1620 by 2160, and it's also a brighter display that can go up to 500 nits. So definitely better specs than what you would find on the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite here, which is of course boasting a 10.4 inches for that display, and that is a TFT display. The resolution here is 1200 by 2000 and can go up to 435 nits of brightness. The iPad will appear to be a little brighter to the naked eye, when you put them side by side, but it won't be as significant. You will, however, notice that images are sharper, slightly sharper on the iPad 9 and with more pronounced colors when compared to the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite. And before I forget, if you are liking the content so far, I truly appreciate that. Please do me a favor, hit both the like and the subscribe button there. It's a tremendous help to the channel. Again, I truly appreciate that. All right, so let's get back to the display here. Now, the display on the iPad 9 on paper technically is a superior display, but you got to be careful. It gets a little lost, when you consider like the aspect ratio. When it comes down to user experience, just the specs being superior on here. Now, by lost, I don't mean that the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite is superior when it comes down to display, but what I mean is that it might be subjective to the user. Again, especially considering that the aspect ratio for both, starting off with the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite, it has a wider aspect ratio at 5:3 versus the iPad's 4:3. So the S6 Lite definitely offers a better experience for entertainment, not only because of the thin bezel going around and the aspect ratio cinematic look, but also very important here because the screen is laminated on the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite, which is not the case on the iPad 9. Plus, of course, as I mentioned earlier, you have a dual setup for the speaker, tuned by AKG. Sound quality is crisper than what you would have on the iPad 9. So it kind of gives that illusion that when it comes down to entertainment, you may enjoy it more on the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite. That's just my take though. Now I want to go ahead and talk platforms, right? And starting off here with the iPad 9, it is boasting an A13 Bionic chip. That's the same one that was found on the iPhone 11, 11 Pro, 11 Pro Max. Very, very impressive GPU performance. I was able to actually edit 4K videos just like it was the case with the previous generation, except it's a lot snappier than what it was on the previous model. And if you remember, I did compare that previous model to the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite. So you can already see where, when it comes down to performance, you can already see where this stands relative to the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite. Also, it is now loaded with double the size from last year when it comes down to internal storage. So base internal storage is 64 gigs, which is actually pretty good, which is the same here, but we'll get to this. So 64 gigs base internal storage here, still non-expandable, unfortunately. It's Apple, so that's kind of expected. Now the Tab S6 Lite, on the other hand, is boasting an Exynos 9611 coupled with 4 gigs of RAM. Of course, performance is decent when compared to this. It definitely doesn't keep up with what the iPad 9 has to offer here. The storage is expandable. You have 64 gigs of base internal storage, expandable at up to 1 terabyte using a micro SD card. So when it comes down to performance, of course, it's simple. It's not really comparable. The iPad 9 is definitely ahead of the Tab S6 Lite here. And when it comes down to just day-to-day tasks, they're going to open a very simple task at relatively the same speed. When it comes down to heavier tasks, so medium to heavier apps or tasks, the iPad 9 is going to have that edge. You may encounter some lag every now and then with opening very, very heavy tasks on the Tab S6 Lite, whereas the iPad 9 is going to open those fairly quickly. And since we're talking performance, let's go ahead and cover gaming. When it comes down to gaming, of course, that's going to be the same thing. When it comes down to light games, no issues opening and playing, with either tablet. It's going to open relatively at the same speed. Now, when it comes down to like medium going to heavier, high graphic oriented games, yeah, This guy's going to struggle a little, whereas the iPad 9 is definitely going to open them relatively faster, and gameplay is going to be better as well. So if you're looking for an affordable gaming tablet, the iPad 9 actually would be a good candidate. Its GPU performance is just superior to that of the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite. Now let's go ahead and cover software and accessibility. iPad 9 here is running iPadOS 15. It's pretty fluid, pretty snappy. You can handle some level of multitasking with, that split view and toggling in between apps, along with some additional features that came with the newest Apple OS or the newest iPad OS. And finally, of course, I want to note that the UI on here is pretty responsive. On the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite, I am running One UI 3.1, which also is fairly responsive. And when it comes down to multitasking, it can pretty much do everything that the iPad 9 does, plus more, right? Because the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite now supports Samsung DeX, which is the feature that turns your tablet into a mini desktop, and that thing makes multitasking just a breeze. It just really increases productivity despite not being a productivity tablet, right? Especially if you add some accessories, right? So if you add like a mouse and a keyboard, you are definitely using a laptop or a mini computer. All right, next here is going to be the camera. Now, each one of these tablets has an 8 megapixel main camera on the back. The Galaxy Tab S6 Lite does seem to show a little bit more saturation when compared to the camera found on the back of the iPad, but it might depend on your personal preference. Now, in my own take, I think the main camera on the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite here is better than what you find on the iPad 9 there, because it's slightly sharper and a little bit more saturated, so you get a little bit more vibrance in the color. Now, when it comes down to the front camera, that's where the iPad pretty much does the Tab S6 Lite. You have a new 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor up here, and that is also integrated with that new center stage that Apple has been pushing lately. It's that very neat feature where the ultra wide angle camera automatically adjusts the shot to keep one or multiple subjects within that frame. Meanwhile, the Tab S6 Lite only has a 5 megapixel selfie camera. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about battery. This is it's pretty much subjective. I always say it. I always use that word, right? Subjective. Depends on your type of usage, depend on what you do with your tablet. Now, I do remember, it feels like I remember this tablet when it was brand new lasting a tiny bit longer than this, or maybe about the same. It just feels like this lasted a little bit longer, but either way, and in either case, I'm able to run either one of them, throughout the day. This one less than before, because obviously I've had it for well over a year, but it will last all day, just like it used to be the case with the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite that I have here. Hang in there, we are almost done. Let's go ahead and cover styluses now. The iPad 9 supports the Apple Pencil first generation, and it actually works pretty well, along with offering a good user experience, an overall good user experience for drawing and taking down notes as well. I still hate the tapping sound it makes when you write, but still, overall, good user experience. However, the S Pen offers a better experience for drawing and taking down notes because of a number of reasons, right? Including the available great pressure sensitivity and the feedback that it gives the user, right? The feedback that it provides you with. So in my humble opinion, I'm going to say that the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite comboed with that S Pen offers an overall better user experience when it comes down to taking down notes, feedback, and all that good stuff. Plus, it's loaded with a little bit more options when compared to the Apple Pencil first generation. And before I close here, it is very important to also highlight the fact that the iPad 9 is a newer tablet. So you're looking at this guy being supported for at least the next 5 years, right? So if you're in the market, just keep that in mind. This is a newer tablet and it's going to be supported by Apple for at least 5 years, whereas this one is a tablet from last year and it has, I believe, about 2 years left because Samsung offers only 3. But anyway, here's my take. If you are in the market for either one of these two, your choice is going to heavily depend on what you are planning on doing with the tablet, right? I don't believe in just blindly saying this tablet is the best tablet that will cover everyone or anyone, right? So it will depend on what you're in the market for. If you're looking for more value and you want to spend the least amount possible, then the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite is the way to go. Also, if you are looking for better stylus and user experience, or taking down notes, great feedback, drawing, and all that good stuff, and something that's just versatile in terms of multitasking and bumping your productivity despite the specs being subpar compared to this guy here, then the Tab S6 Lite is going to be that guy, because Samsung DeX, right, that offers you such a high level of flexibility for you to be able to do quite a few things, on this UI. Now, on the other hand, if you are in the market for a budget tablet with excellent performance, then there's no doubt you got to go with the iPad 9. If you're looking for something you can do a good level of video editing, iPad. You're looking for an affordable gaming tablet, as I mentioned earlier, iPad. You want something that's going to last you a long time, that's going to be supported a long time, iPad, right? So let me know what your questions anyway. If you're in the market for this and you need a little bit of guidance, let me know in the comment section. When I get to you, I'll let you know what I think. Of course, I'm certainly hoping that this video was informative. I'm going to catch you in that comment section like I always do. Make sure to subscribe if you forgot to do so. And make sure to like the video and share if you know anyone who will be interested or who happens to be in the market for either one of these two. I'm going to catch you in the next video also. And as always, of course, stay safe out there.